Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Susan Bernau, and I represent the City of Mason City and Police Chief Mike Laxton. Maria Ohl was terminated from her employment with the Mason City Police Department on August 4th of 2011. This saga began back in September 22nd of 2010 to be exact, when Ms. Ohl was providing testimony in a deposition and made allegations very generically that there were police officers with the Mason City Police Department who were involved in various homicides. Needless to say, this came as a complete shock and surprise to the police chief. And so the very next day, the police chief called in Ms. Ohl to talk to her specifically about what information she had. The police chief and Captain Bankston met with Ms. Ohl and gathered as much information as they could from her. She came forward with a couple names of informants and some very generic allegations that there were dirty cops within the police department. The homicides she believes that the police department were somehow involved in were the Jody Huisentrup case and the Gerald Best murder. One informant, who was very intoxicated at the time that he spoke to Ms. Ohl, alleges that they were dirty and that they were involved in these two murders. Ms. Ohl came in contact with this informant in December of 2009, which raises the first big concern here, is that in her capacity as a police officer, she received information about open cases and did not forward that information on through the proper channels and did not maintain the evidence as is required under the department rules. When asked why it took her so long to come forward, she made several statements to the effect of, "I don't know who to trust. I was trying to figure out how to verify this information." Ms. Ohl claims she called the DCI, the U.S. Attorney's Office, but none of these offices could verify that contact when requested by Police Chief Lashbrook. She couldn't furthermore remember who she spoke to, when she spoke to them, or whether she actually had made the contact with them. And even if she had made any contact with these offices, at best by her own admissions, it was not until June of 2011 or 2010 that she made this contact. Meanwhile, almost a year has passed since she had this contact with this informant, and these allegations came to light for the police chief. Chief Lashbrook promptly followed up on this information, and he got what he could from Ms. Ohl. He gathered the DVD and the videos. He talked to the DCI. He talked to the U.S. Attorney's Office, and he talked to other officers with the Mason City Police Department. An outside investigator, Neil Schultz, was used to look into any rule violations by Maria, and the outside investigator spoke with the chief, Captain Bankston, Captain McKelvey, and Ms. Ohl. Various rule violations were found, including insubordination, interfering with investigation, and violating rules on security of records and handling mobile, video, audio, recording equipment. You will hear testimony from Mr. Neil Schultz as to how he conducted his investigation and how he came up with these conclusions. In addition, as a result of that investigation by Mr. Schultz and certain things Maria Ohl stated, a fitness for duty examination was completed on Ms. Ohl by Dr. Eva Christensen in January of 2011. Now, a fitness for duty examination is an assessment that is done by a licensed psychologist to determine whether, in this case, a police officer is capable of fulfilling their duties, whether they are fit physically, mentally to perform their duties. You will hear from Dr. Christensen as to why she concluded that Ms. Ohl is not capable of being a police officer any longer. A police officer who engages in mishandling of evidence and insubordination to the level that Maria Ohl did can't be an officer anymore. A police officer who is deemed unfit for duty by a licensed psychologist who specializes in these types of assessments can't be a police officer anymore. Maria Ohl will try to persuade you that this is all a conspiracy and some sort of retaliation scheme against her, and we would urge you to stay focused on the issues at hand today. And that is under Iowa Code Chapter 400. Was the police chief, did he have substantial evidence to terminate Ms. Ohl in this case based on misconduct and failure to perform her duties under the Iowa Code. We can prove that the conspiracy and retaliation scheme is simply not the case. There's no merit to her allegations, and in particular with respect to the inflammatory accusations against officers within the police department. The DCI has investigated and followed up on what vague information and leads provided by Marie Ohl that were provided. There is nothing credible, and there's nothing that would justify these outrageous inflammatory accusations that are simply an attempt to divert you from the real issues at hand. Upon the conclusion of this hearing, we believe the Commission will find that there was substantial evidence to sustain and uphold Chief Lashbrook's decision to terminate Maria Ohl pursuant to Iowa Code Section 400.18 and Iowa Code Section 400.19.